Hello, and welcome back to Spaces or Laces. I'm your host, Jeff Meyer. It was a tough weekend in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh Steelers have been eliminated from the playoffs for the first time since 2013, and there's a lot of drama revolving around the team and Antonio Brown. It's not a good time in Pittsburgh, and it's not looking good the first week, them being eliminated from the 2019 playoffs for next season. It's not looking good. First week in off season, not looking good. I want to dive deep into that and have a good discussion about the Pittsburgh Steelers and the drama concerning them and the organization moving forward. But I want to touch on the college football playoffs. Clemson, Alabama, both won this weekend. They're going to be playing for the third time in 4 years, I believe, for the national championship. Both teams were clearly better than their opponents. Clemson handed Notre Dame. Notre Dame didn't have a shot, and I'm not a fan of Notre Dame, so I might be biased, but they didn't have a shot from the very get-go. And then Alabama rolled tide against Oklahoma. Neither teams were quite on the same level as Alabama or Clemson, and I hate to say it, all my teams this weekend didn't do well. Pitt lost a tough game to Stanford. Georgia got beat up on by Texas, which I was very surprised. I don't know how that happened. I don't think Texas was that good. I think Georgia is clearly a better team, but you know what? They weren't a better team in this bowl game, and hats off to Texas. Is Texas back? I'm not sure, but they're looking good recently, especially playing well against Oklahoma this year, playing in the Big 12 championship against Oklahoma, of course. But yeah, Texas might be back, and that's not good news for WU and other people like Oklahoma in the Big 12 if Texas is back. WU didn't play that well against Syracuse. Will Grier didn't play. That makes a big difference in that game. But it was tough. Bowl season hasn't been really fun for me. A lot of teams I root for haven't been doing well. Michigan got beat by Florida. That was a tough one. Big Ten in general did not have a good bowl season. And it's, year after year after year, Big Ten plays so well in the regular season, plays really well against each other, and they go out and play SEC opponents or other opponents in different conferences, and they really just don't stack up. It's tough to see, very tough to see. But Penn State lost to Kentucky. Obviously, there's other games I can't think of off the top of my head, but Big Ten looked bad again in bowl games, and I don't know what it is. Big Ten keeps underperforming these bowl games. They're not going to make it in the college football playoffs. They're not going to, when it's a flip a coin kind of situation where teams look very similar, have very similar strengths of schedules and records and all that good stuff. They're not going to pick Penn State, Big Ten schools. They're not going to pick Ohio State. They're not going to pick Michigan when they go out and underperform and do very poorly against other conferences in these bowl games. So not good for the Big Ten. But I just want to dive into that. National championship coming up this Monday. I'm excited. I'm going to take Alabama against Clemson. I don't think Alabama is going to lose. I don't think Clemson has enough to beat Alabama, but it should be fun regardless. The two previous national championships have been a lot of fun, so I'm expecting a similar game with Alabama pulling it out in the end. So that's what I got for college football playoffs. I have Alabama winning it all this Monday night. As far as last weekend's concerned, I was at the game in Pittsburgh. Antonio Brown didn't play. There's a lot of drama revolving that. He was on the injured report or on the injured list to not being able to perform for that. The last game of the season, Week 17 against the Bengals. Very important game. Playoffs on the line. Clearly, as we know, on now being Thursday, things didn't shake out exactly like the Steelers needed to make the playoffs, unfortunately. But yeah, AB wasn't able to play. He was reported as injured. Find out this week there's a little bit more to the story. Complained of soreness during the week, problems with his knee. Apparently got into some kind of altercation fight. And altercation might not be the right word. Basically, because when I think altercation, I think fist fight. So maybe I'm in the wrong on this one. But got into some kind of situation with Big Ben where words were said. Apparently he threw a football at Big Ben. So I don't know if it was a scuffle. I don't know if it was AB throwing a child temper tantrum. That's what it sounds like to me. Things are not good in the Steelers locker room right now or for the organization. Clearly, as we know, what happened this season with Le'Veon Bell not signing the franchise tag. He's going to be a free agent next year. Don't know where he's going to go, but I'm very, very confident he's not going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. Now there's rumors that AB wants traded. I don't know if there's any truth to that at the moment, but I don't know. After all this, an underperforming season, whenever you have a team with going into a season when you have the talent to possibly make a Super Bowl run, and you can't make the playoffs, that's not good. They're going to have to shake the tree a little bit in Pittsburgh and see what falls out because they got to make some changes. And maybe it's Antonio Brown. I hate to say it. He's been my favorite player the last couple years, but whenever you're a 30-year-old man throwing a football at your quarterback, that's not good. That's not good things for the locker room, especially when you have some good characters in that locker room. You got some good guys, some role models. Unfortunately, the Steelers like their franchise receiver in Antonio Brown to be a role model, to be a guy that some of the younger athletes and players could look to for guidance. As far as a role model is concerned, not good. I mean, especially the receiving core. You got Juju Smith-Schuster in his second year. Well, just finished up his second year now. Washington just finished up his rookie campaign. Didn't do much beginning of the season, but I really liked what he did here down the stretch, especially in this last couple games. Started to make some important catches, some big-time catches. So hopefully in the offseason, he can work more with Ben, and they can build upon these last couple games and some of the strides he made here late in the season. But, you know, the season on the line, and Juju and Washington made some plays. They did just enough in Pittsburgh to pull off that game against the Bengals. But obviously, as we know now, Cleveland Browns had to come through for the Steelers against the Ravens for the Steelers to make the playoffs, and I really thought they would. It was crazy in Pittsburgh. I hate to say it. As the game ended, I ran out of the stadium not realizing they were going to put the game on the Jumbotron. The Ravens-Browns. I was watching, I hate to say it towards the end of the game, I was watching on my phone the Browns-Ravens game more closely than it was the Steelers game that I was actually attending. And I had at least at the moment I thought it was a bread idea. Okay, we'll run to stage AE. They have the TVs up, and you're allowed to before the Steelers games you can always watch the other games in the NFL on the TVs. Me not thinking Sunday night after the 4 p.m. game that they have the gates closed, but we ended up running over, my family and I. Ran over to stage E, but luckily they still had the game, the Ravens-Cleveland game, on the TV. The gates were closed. So we're staying outside the gates. And there's probably 30, 40 people staying outside gates. And as people know, saw the videos, how many people in Steeler Nation stayed in the stadium to see that ending. But Baker Mayfield and the Browns came up a little short. From what I saw, I mean, they played tough. They wanted to win the game. They tried to win the game. The series of events that unfolded at the end there, the Browns, it kills you. They're in a position there where one good throw can put you in field goal range. And I know their kicker's not that great, but, I mean, I was optimistic. It was first down. Things didn't go their way. It was a bad pass by Baker Mayfield, the one that I think Jarvis Landry could have possibly caught, didn't catch. I don't know. It's tough. But that third down play could have put them in a possible field goal situation. But obviously with that incomplete pass, you're sitting at 4th and 10, right outside field goal range. The Browns kicker is not very good. I think you got to go for it on 4th and 10 like they did. Didn't like the play call. Young quarterback, big situation like that. You got to know they're bringing the blitz, which they did, and Baker threw the pick. And that right there sealed off the Steelers' season for all intents and purposes, considering the only other way they could make the playoffs was as a 6th seed if the Colts and the Titans tied, which did not happen. So Steelers' season's over. Going forward, I don't really know. I mean, they see a lot of things in the newspaper. The newspaper, I don't really look at that. Social media I was getting at, and headlines and stuff like that online. Who's to blame? I mean, when you have a proud organization like the Steelers, who are known for going to the playoffs, winning games in the playoffs, winning Super Bowls, they've won 6, and they had a team this year that possibly had the talent and was a Super Bowl caliber team. It's very, very hard. You start to see in these situations, fingers start getting pointed. And right now, fingers are pointing at Tomlin. People are pointing fingers at Ben. People are pointing fingers at AB. People are pointing fingers at Keith Butler. I don't know what the right answer is. I just know fingers are being pointed, and they're going to have to figure it out. I personally will. My one thing I do know, though, is there's one thing that I think you can't do, and I don't think you can get rid of Ben or anything like that. I mean, how many quarterbacks play in the NFL for over a decade and have the success that Ben has had for one team? Ben has been a Steeler his entire career. For 14 years in the NFL, since 2004, and he was drafted as a Pittsburgh Steeler, he's been a Steeler. You could argue that he's had some shady situations and off-the-field issues that I don't really want to go into. I don't really know. I mean, especially when those things were happening, I was pretty young, so didn't really know the whole story, exactly what happened, so I don't want to get into that. But for the most part, he's been kind of a role model for younger players on the team. For the most part, has done things at least the way the Steelers organization wants him to do it. I know there's been, I don't want to say rumors, but I mean, there's a lot of people out there that think, especially Ben was younger in his career, that he was an asshole, didn't do things the right way, was a dick, all this stuff you could say about him, not a good guy. I don't know. I just know that he's won. He's won in Pittsburgh, and he's put the Steelers in a situation year in, year out to have a chance at have a Super Bowl run. And considering he's 14 years in the league, he has multiple playoff wins, 2 Super Bowl wins, leads the Steelers in almost every single all-time passing record. He has all the records, leading all of them, or is very close to obtaining them here at the end of his career. So I don't know, it's tough. And then you look at how AB is causing this drama. AB's 30 now. I mean, there's one thing in life that is undefeated, and that's father time, especially in sports. AB being 30 years old, clearly I think he's going to play, if he plays the Steelers next year or not, wherever he does play, he's going to have a great year. AB is a talented, very special individual, one of the best receivers and one of the best players in the entire NFL at the moment. But Father Time's creeping up on him. He's 30 years old now. I don't know how many more years he has, how many years he can play at that MVP, best receiver in the league level that he's done now for a couple years as a Pittsburgh Steeler. I know Ben's got a couple years left in the tank. I don't know how many, but quarterbacks, elite quarterbacks like Big Ben, Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Rodgers, Rivers, those kind of Peyton Mannings, the list can go on of all-time greats. And at least those are greats in the recent years, last 10, 15 years. They don't come around every day. They don't. The guys that can play every single down of every single game of every single season at the quarterback position, not get hurt that often, put points up, put yards up, put all these records up. I mean, the names I just told you have been doing it for 10-plus years. They don't come around very often. So the Steelers have a good one. So if you're going to make a move and shake the tree a little bit and try to see what falls out of it, it might be AB. I'm not exactly sure all the numbers for the salary cap situation. I know if they trade him, it'll hurt the cap, but I don't know exactly how that all is planned out or where the money's going as far as like when he got paid and signing bonuses and all that good stuff, because even if they trade him, he should free up some money. I don't know what kind of amount that is, or if it would be an amount significant enough to take that hit, try to bring in some young guys to the roster, maybe go out and get a free agency splash player with some of the money to free up for AB. I don't know, but I do know one thing. The Steelers need to get younger. It's the one thing every franchise and NFL team or professional team has to do every few years. You need to start getting younger. And with Le'Veon Bell not coming back next year, I mean, might as well just say it now, he's not coming back. AB possibly traded. Maybe it's time for another influx of new people. I mean, James Conner played great this year. Samuels looked good when he's got opportunities. Juju's been playing unbelievable. He was named the MVP of the Steelers this year. You still have Vance McDonald, I believe, on a contract. He's been playing pretty well, in my opinion. You brought in Burnett last year. You have Bostic you brought in last year. J.J. Watt is coming on. J.J. Watt is the player in that defense. Cam Hayward's still playing pretty good. Tua's been stepping up. But Joe Hayden's getting older. Maybe you go secondary again, bringing some fresh blood there. But, I mean, with Shazier probably not ever playing football again, you need some more help at linebacker. Bud Dupree's not the answer. Chicolo's not the answer. Who else? Vince Williams is a great run stopper. Can't cover anyone in the passing game. So you're going to have to bring in some new blood. I mean, a lot of people weren't high on Bostic. I thought he did pretty well. I mean, there's so many things you can say about TJ Watt. He's honestly a fucking freak. He's been the real bright spot in that defense the last 2 years. Last year, he'd had some up and downs. Like he'd play really well one game and not be seeing the other. But I'd say this year, he really brought it. He stepped up. He's not yet at that, like, defensive MVP of the year award kind of status yet, but he's creeping up there. He's getting damn good, and he brings a lot of pressure rushing off the edge, and he can cover people. He can make the tackles. He's a short tackler, makes big plays. Those are the things you need in defense. You need those guys who can make the big plays on offense and on defense. And TJ Watt, excuse me, yeah, JJ is one of those too, his brother. But I meant TJ Watt. He's one of those players, and he can bring it, and he can make splash plays, and that's what you need. And that's the only thing I will say about Keenan and Antonio Brown if they do trade him. He's a special player. He makes those big plays, those wow moment plays. But we're getting to a point in his career now that maybe all those wow plays and those one-handed catches and all the phenomenal things he do isn't overshadowing the drama, the pettiness, the childish behavior, because it always overshadowed it before. And people, when Pittsburgh and when the Steelers are winning, people really don't care how much of a douchebag you are or what you're doing. And now maybe that they're not winning as much. You know, we had, a down year here. Didn't make the playoffs since the first time in 2013. Maybe people's eyes are open, like, what kind of character AB? What kind of character is he really? I don't know him personally, but the things he's been doing recently are not stuff that I'd want on a team I was playing on. Seems kind of like a cancer to me. And anytime you have a cancer in the locker room, I thought all the problems were Le'Veon Bell and him being selfish and being a cancer. But you know what? Maybe it was a combo of both of them. Maybe Le'Veon Bell and AB got a little too big in the head. And, and they thought that they were bigger than the team. But that's one thing. I listened to Colin Cowherd talk about it. Made a really good point. With Alabama and the Patriots, there are two teams over the last decade that have won and won consistently. And I'm talking championship consistently. There's no player on those teams that were bigger than the team. And successes, has followed. People that, got a little too big for their britches, they got shipped out, they got traded, they got, let go, all this stuff. College-wise, they didn't bring them in, or they transferred, all those good things, didn't play. So, maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's time to rebuild in Pittsburgh. Maybe it's time to get a little younger, get some fresh blood in there. But I don't know. It's just tough. I'm, looking at this a couple of days away from getting eliminated in the playoffs. Maybe I'm Maybe I'm being over dramatic. Maybe the media is being a little over dramatic with what's all transpired in the last week. We'll know more come draft season, when the NFL draft coming up. See what is exactly going on with Antonio Brown, how the relationship between Brown, Ben, the offense, Tomlin, how everything's panning out. Because there's a lot of people that I hear these rumors and stuff that Tomlin might be a candidate to go to the Jets. I don't know if he would or would even want to. If that's the case, though, bringing a new head coach, I have to say that it'd probably be hand-selected by Ben. If you're going to keep Ben around, AB, those would be the guys that hand-select him. Cam Hayward, I'm sure, would have a pretty large say in it. TJ Watt, too. But those are the kind of players that would have a say in it. I don't know, maybe bring in a quarterback that's friendly to Ben. Someone's pass happy. He can finish his career out with him. But I don't know. I personally don't want to see Tomlin go. I think Tomlin's fine. I think they just had a bad year, had some lucky things the other way. Bostic didn't play well in big moments. That makes, the kicking game matters, especially the NFL level. And the kicking game wasn't there this year. I mean, you guys saw the Raiders game, the Browns game. Either the Raiders or Browns game go a different way, and the Steelers are in the playoffs. So there's one game. Win the Saints game, Steelers in the playoffs. They're sitting in the one games. They don't fucking blow it up at Denver, They don't play poorly at Mile High Stadium. They're in the playoffs. There's a lot of, things here. And maybe that's on coaching. Maybe that's on preparation. Maybe the Steelers this year just weren't simply prepared enough to win the necessary games, the tight games, the nail-biter games, and make a run in the playoffs and make a Super Bowl push, which they had the talent to do. Maybe that's on Tomlin. Maybe it's on Keith Butler. Maybe it's on the Steelers staff as a whole. Maybe they want to keep Tomlin, as Tomlin has to evaluate his staff as well as his players this offseason. That quite as well might be the fact. But the fact that I know is Steelers didn't play as well as they should have this year. They underachieved, and they're going to have to make some changes in the offseason. But the one thing I will say is I like some of the young talent. I like some of the young players. They're starting to get a group of guys. The only thing is the offensive line's getting a little old. Maybe it's time to get some fresh blood in there, especially with Ben aging and ending, going towards the twilight of his career. Maybe need some more fresh blood on the offensive line. Make sure you keep them upright. I mean, they did a really good job this year, in my opinion, keeping them upright. Didn't take the horrible sacks. I don't know if it was like 2013 or 14 around that time. 2012 through 14, when the Castro and some of them were like really young and stuff. Ben took a lot of hits, a lot of bad sacks, got beat up a lot. I didn't see him really getting beat up this year. The only time he got really beat up was the Raiders game. Didn't play most of the second half because of it, which contributed to the loss. If Big Ben plays that entire game, I don't think they lose the game. So there's a lot of things that Steeler Nation, there's a lot of things that they should be excited for with the upcoming, 2019 season. I mean, it's crazy to say that because we still have the whole playoffs for this year and the Super Bowl still left. But as a Steeler fan, I'll start thinking about next year and hopefully the coaching staff the organization should be, the coaching staff, the organization should be, players, personnel, staff. You got to figure it out because winning is one of those things that's expected in Pittsburgh. You have to win. Not many teams in my lifetime in Pittsburgh, there hasn't been multiple losing teams. You've had a down year here and there, but it wasn't like a 3, 4, 5 year stretch when you had teams that weren't producing and losing in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is nicknamed City of Champions for a reason. The Pittsburgh Steelers bring home Super Bowl wins and titles, championships. Not making the playoffs is not acceptable in Pittsburgh. So they're going to have to figure it out. That's my rant for the Steelers, but talking about the rest of the NFL and the playoffs, some of the matchups, going to pick them, do a little pick-ems here for the upcoming weekend. You have the Colts playing at the Texans in the first wild card game on Saturday. I like Houston. I like what they've done all year. They got a good defense, and Deshaun Watson's proven that he can win and play well. So I'm going to take the Texans in that one. Cowboys Seahawks, that's an interesting one. By the way, Texans were -1.5 at home. I would take that spread. I'd take them -1.5. Seahawks travel to the Cowboys. The Cowboys are -2 at home against the Seahawks. I'm taking Russell Wilson, the Seahawks, the underdog on the road in the wild card game. That's your second game this Saturday. I got the Seahawks all day in that one. The Cowboys always figure out a way to play poorly in the playoffs. They always do. Ever since the 90s, they haven't done shit since Aikman and them have been here. So I'm taking the Seahawks in that one. Sunday game, Chargers-Ravens. Should be Chargers-Steelers. But the Chargers are traveling to the Ravens. I'm taking the Chargers +2.5 on the road against the Ravens. I think the Chargers are the better team in that one. And I think they should have handled business at home and prevented the Ravens from being in the playoffs. But I'll say this. If I was a Chargers fan, I would much rather be playing the Ravens than a pissed off, hungry Steeler team. Because I think the Steelers would have won against the Chargers. So if I'm the Chargers, I'm happy I'm playing the Ravens, and we're going to take care of business against the Ravens. So I'll take the Chargers in that one, +2.5. Then the final wild card game in the NFC, Eagles playing at the Bears. Chicago's -6 at home in the playoffs. This one's an interesting one. Nick Foles' magic starting all over again. It's starting all over again, and I don't know how good the Bears are yet. I mean, they're 12-4 this year, but Mr. Trubisky hasn't had really any play. He has none actually. He didn't play in the playoffs last year, so he has no playoff experience. He was hurt for a little bit there. I'm guessing he's good to go playing this weekend. Considering the spread's -6, I'm saying he's playing this weekend. Didn't look at if he's questionable or any of that good stuff on the injury report. But if Trubisky plays, I don't know. He's going to play. I'm trying to think here. This one's a tough one. My gut says the Bears. I'll take the Bears at home against the Eagles. But that Nick Foles magic that's coming up again, I don't know, but I'm going to take the Bears in that one, and that's what I got wild card weekend. Really, really disappointed. The Steelers, did not have an opportunity to play in the playoffs. They didn't handle business. They had a chance. I mean, at one point in the season, like I mentioned last week, they're 7-2-1. 7-2-1, and they don't handle business. That's on you. That's on coaching. That's on players. That's on everyone in the organization. That's not good enough, and that's not acceptable in Pittsburgh. So there's going to be changes here this offseason. There's going to be a lot of changes, but I'm excited for the football that's left for this year, and I'm looking forward to the Steelers next year, which sure we're going to be talking a lot on here on Spaces, Laces, and the Southbound Sports Show about the upcoming season and the Pittsburgh Steelers. All right, this is all I got here today on Spaces, Laces. Check out Spaces, Laces on YouTube. Also check out the Southbound Sports Show, YouTube. Check us out on Twitter, all the good stuff. This is Jeff here, over and out.